What are you gonna do, Walter? Blow it up. Louder! Blow it up. Louder! Blow it up! Blow it the fuck up! Blow it up! Blow it up! Right. To right, mate. You can blow it up. Start again. Who are you? I'm the Beaver, Walter. And I'm here to save your goddamn life.
I wanted to hit you with some alternate titles of hoppers around the world.
Okay.
In Japan, the translation is directly When I Became a Beaver.
That's actually great. That should have been the title. I back that.
In Sweden, Operation Beaver is the translation. They throw Operation in the front. That seems to be a global thing. It's going to pop up a lot. Uprahun Baver is how you say that. The Japanese is Watashi ga Biba na Naratuki. And then,
that was good.
When I Became a Beaver, Operation Beaver. In Danish, it's Mission Baiwa, which is basically Mission Beaver.
It's like they're trying to merge the Mission Impossible franchise, I think, with Hoppers. Hoppers is a weird title, I feel like. Like, if it was just called, Operation Beaver or something like that, like, that would make more sense. I don't know.
The Latin American countries, it's Operacion Castor, which is Beaver, Operation Beaver. But there's this Hoppers, then Operation Beaver. So you keep the Hoppers.
Into Darkness situation. Is there a colon or no? No colon?
Yeah. Hoppers,
okay.
Operation Beaver. And then in Italian, they go for jumpers. Jumpers un salto tra gli animali, which is jumpers, a jump through animals.
Okay, very literal. Not connected to the Jumper universe with Hayden Christensen, right? Not the same universe?
No, I don't think so, unfortunately. But there is potential for a crossover. We could do a 22 Jump Street Men in Black style type thing with
True.
The Hoppers universe and Hayden Christensen. He is affiliated with Disney, heavy now. So
true. I mean, let's just do a 21 Jump Street crossover, for being honest.
With Hoppers, they could let them hop into what kind of animals?
I mean, anything they want. I'd say stick with the beavers.
Drug dogs.
That's actually pretty good. That's
Air cops.
That's a good comp.
German shepherds. I could watch that. Obviously, Hoppers, I agree, is kind of a weird title. I remember seeing this on the slate, 2-3 years ago. I think it's been developed for like 6 years, as many of these Pixar movies often are. And I had kind of question marks about like, oh, what is this? Is it going to be good? And then when it was presented, oh, it's a Beaver movie, like that doesn't really seem to connect with the title at all. But I think both of us are huge fans of this movie after having seen it. And it is probably my favorite Pixar movie post-COVID. Like, it's the best thing I think they've done in a really long time. And obviously, I've grown up in that time. I've graduated college. I'm an adult now. So it's like seeing Pixar movies, I'm not like ranking them heavy, or I'm not the intended audience for them all the time. But like, to me, this one did connect with me in a way that some of those early Pixar movies, I feel like, did. It hits the emotional beats and also has an interesting message about environmentalism as well.
Yeah. I back everything you said there. Off the bat, too, I mean, expectations going in were not super high for me. The premise on its own is okay. Obviously just, in the trailer, they even say it, it's like Avatar. It's like, okay, I'm not a big Avatar fan.
But they're robots. They didn't build creatures. They are...
It's true. There's an important difference. But yeah, even the trailer itself, too, like, didn't get me excited. Like you said, the title, too, is just a bit underwhelming. And especially even after watching this movie, I do think the title is still underwhelming.
Operation Beaver, better.
That's so much better. That'd be 5 stars for me if that was the name. Only 4.5 though, but yeah, this did surprise me. I do agree. I mean, I think like modern Pixar actually has been doing pretty well. I was a fan of Elemental, Turning Red, Luca. I guess those are kind of around COVID.
Luca's the number 2 for me if we're going like
Luca's great.
Post-COVID.
Yeah. So in LEI, I wasn't a big fan of, to be fair. I think that was probably their biggest miss recently for me.
I don't love Inside Out 2 as much as some people did.
Yeah. I mean, you got Maya Hawke, but I mean, it's definitely a little bit underwhelming, kind of the hockey story. But this shocked me a lot. And bouncing exactly what off you said, I mean, the big things I love about it for sure is the emotional beats. The main girl of Mabel and her relationship with her grandma kind of just hit me right in the heartstrings. Like really great emotional stuff that you expect from a Pixar movie. But at the same time, too, like I think the messaging is really strong. Obviously, kind of to save the environment is her main goal. And along with that, I think this is a very, very funny movie. It's one of Pixar's funniest, I think. It just brings you into kind of the crazy situation. I think the first half hour is maybe a little bit slow of obviously just her hopping for the first time and figuring out kind of the rules and everything like that. But once we get into like the second act, it goes off the rails immediately, and the third act goes even crazier. Kind of going more delving into the animal kingdom, and then the animal kingdom fighting back. So I thought just throughout, it kept me laughing. I think the mayor character as well, who is voiced by John Hamm, was just a really good comedic foil throughout the movie, even though he's definitely a scumbag in a lot of parts. So it has strong villain, and it has other villains and just other great characters too. Once we kind of open up this animal
Dave
world,
Franco.
yeah, Dave Franco. When he was originally on screen, I didn't recognize him until like the last scene in the movie. I was like, "Oh, that's Dave Franco." Shout out to him. I mean, Meryl Streep is also in the movie. Great voice work altogether, and yeah, this is up there for my favorites of the year so far. Obviously, we're early, but like this is top three for me, which is kind of crazy. I mean, we've already talked about Bone Temple and Project Hail Mary, which I think will stand in my top five for the whole year. Hoppers has a good chance to do that too. I freaking love this. It had me tearing up at the end. It had me busted out laughing, especially during like the climactic scene. There's one line that I really, really love. So yeah, this is top tier stuff from Pixar for me.
I wanted to address the Meryl Streep thing. She has not been in a film since 2021. And
Oh
then
wow,
this year, she does this, like, very small voice role. She has a
yeah.
cameo in Project Hail Mary. And then, of course, she's making her return with The Devil Wears Prada too. I guess you could say it's all kind of part of a calculated move to kind of
She's
build the hype around that. But she's back. Of course, she's been on Only Murders in the Building. That's been the
mm,
main thing taking up her time. Some other, I think, smaller like miniseries appeared on SNL 50. Like she's been around, but
yeah.
just not in films. Don't Look Up was the last one.
Shout out, great movie. But yeah, she's been a little bit more picky. I think obviously her big thing this year is the Devil Wears Prada, which I think everybody's obviously excited for. She was in Project Hail Mary. What did I miss that?
She's when he's going through all the different options of what the voice of Rocky could
Oh,
be.
gotcha.
Meryl Streep
Yes,
is like one of the built-in,
she's name
to joke
dropped.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
did
but then
about
she
that.
provides she does
Right.
do a cameo. They got her in the movie.
Her inclusion in this was fun though, because I feel like she wasn't marketed in it. But I mean, it's when her voice popped on screen, for me at least. I mean, she is very recognizable. So it's cool to have her just included in this. I don't know how to describe it a little bit. It's just like the kingdom of animals, I guess.
They all have their own monarchy set up. It's an
Yeah.
interesting class system. We've seen, and we're going to compare this today to another movie about like animals with human traits, but this is a huge trend with the Zootopia and Goat. And, this film is like examining like the class structure and the hierarchy, the social world of animals. And of course, that goes back to like stuff like A Bug's Life. And, sure, it's existed for a long time, but it's a huge trend recently. Hoppers is different where from Zootopia or Goat, where it's like those are just animal societies that directly mirror like modern Western society. And this is like more of like a different world. These animals do have their own kingdom and their own rules that they're trying to live with. And there's this, struggle between like predator and prey and what's acceptable. So I liked that as kind of a change. It's a new, unique kind of way to approach the animal kingdom, literally, with all these like individual monarch and the council that they call together. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Shout out Pond Rules. Love that constant callback. But it is interesting too, because both the movies that we'll talk about today, I mean, their premises are similar of, the humans are taking over kind of their land and their territory, and they're forced to kind of adapt and come together to try to stop that in some ways, but also to survive in a lot of other ways too. So I did like the head beaver. He's got a name, doesn't he? Yeah, King
King
George.
George.
I thought his introduction was fun, and then just the relationship obviously he kind of gets with Mabel. Something that carried the movie for me. And Mabel, I think she's a really layered character too, because you understand her, how intense her passion is for this as well. Obviously with the opening with the grandma. This movie takes a ton of elements from other animated movies. like the emotional stuff, from Up in the beginning. I think it sprinkles that.
It definitely
You know,
has its own Up Pixar-esque opening where
yeah,
it's like we're gonna hit you with
and it
a,
works.
a heartbreak. Yeah, I teared up a little bit,
Oh, it got me for sure.
and it also
Like,
does it in the same way sets the emotional stakes, like you said. It explains the connection to nature, and then it obviously goes deeper to that of like her, continuing after her grandmother is gone, and like the importance of nature and like the beauty of all that. And then when you see that stark difference of a world that humans have encroached upon and are trying to build a freeway through, like you're like, fuck yeah, like fight back.
and especially too, they're like, oh, they're only building it to eliminate, like 5 minutes of traffic.
And it's like the ugliest shit ever.
It makes the villain, mayor character Jerry, which is a great name for a character too. Shout out Jerry. But it just makes him very hateable, and you for sure kind of obviously take the side of Mabel and really do relate to her as a protagonist. But then I mean, it does have all these other different elements. Like this movie reminds me a lot of kind of Finding Nemo, just with kind of the family aspect of the animals and the craziness. I mean, there's some aquatic animals that just are steam sealers, and absolutely iconic. But at the same time, too, like The Wild Robot, which was a movie actually considered by us to pair up with this. Maybe it would have been a better pairing,
Better movie for sure.
for sure. But shout out DreamWorks. They did both. But yeah, like it takes elements of that too, of like, the family drama and growing up as well, while still trying to fight for what you love and protect what you love. So it has a ton of different elements, and then you get like a good voice cast and a solid script around it. And I think it's really effective.
It is that duo of King George and Maple together, Piper Curda and Bobby Moynihan, which, Bobby Moynihan like kind of low key becoming a Pixar voice legend himself with, some inside out appearances in Monsters University. And then now really taking this like central role here. I thought they were both great together. It's such a fun pairing. And like you said, the dynamic is the heart and soul of this. Good evil John Hamm stuff. It's funny and it's also kind of a little spooky at points. There's almost some body horror elements in this movie, which I like. Bring that into kids' movies, teach them young, start, working their way up to the real spooky stuff. And then, of course, the climate change stuff like really hits me. Like I believe in that stuff. The way that humans are destroying nature, like the animals. It's really unfortunate. I almost wish this movie took a starker route and they were more aggressive in the way their methods. But of course, they have to be positive and lovey-dovey, but maybe
Yeah.
maybe get a
The
little eco terrorism going. I don't know.
yeah, the ending, it is just like it's not realistic, obviously, because like I said, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's just like, the politicians coming to the realization of, oh, the environment stuff, like them actually thinking about other animals, which would just never happen in real life. So I agree with that. Maybe make it a little bit darker. And it does have, like you said, like some very good scary moments, I think. I don't even know if this is, as much as a kid's movie as some of the other Pixar stuff. Like the themes I feel like are very mature, and like there's constant, just avoiding death. Like death is very, very relevant. Throughout people die. I mean, animals die constantly. That's the pond rules, obviously. So I think it does a good job of kind of, including other audiences other than just kids, who obviously are the main demographic for this. But yeah, I thought Bobby Moynihan as well is solid. I would love to see a sequel to this movie, especially too, like you're saying, with kind of the realization near the kind of third act of, humans are actually pushing them out, like it, and it's just for their own gain. So I feel like you can do a lot more stuff on that because humans are terrible people. I feel like so it's easy to write for that, and then just having the environmental themes of these protagonists just trying to save the forest, like that is such an important story that I think we could see, a million times and just push it into kind of the world's minds, who are watching it, because, we're killing our planet in a sense. Shout out Project Hail Mary. But I mean, I feel like we need movies like this at this time. And especially in this political climate, making the mayor a bad guy is a bold choice. This movie could have gotten, especially with this administration, it could have gotten blackballed and be like, oh, Hoppers is, filling your
Woke agenda,
kids
man.
with, yeah, freaking liberal ideas. And no, who cares about
Allegedly,
the forest?
it's funny. There was a December 2024 Hollywood Reporter article that stated, from according to a former Pixar artist, they were told to downplay the film's planned message of environmentalism. But then in 2025, July of 2025, the director Daniel Chong denied it. He said they were all on my side. But like they really just go with the ebb and flow of what society is and what, as all corporations do. I think this movie does at the end come out with a strong message, but it's not a super strong message, and it is kind of a passive one. They win through the power of the law working, and like legislation that exists, that they're able to like prove that there's animals living there. Maybe that's a little bit fantasy in reality. They do, the science of it all is accurate, which I appreciate. They brought in a University of Minnesota scientist named Emily Fairfax, Dr. Emily Fairfax. I'm pretty sure one of the scientists in this movie is named Fairfax after her. And there's all this stuff about the oils and the butt oils and stuff with the beavers, and apparently that is accurate. And I wanted to read this from interview with her. It was disturbingly accurate. Beavers have oils that they excrete from their rear ends and will scoop those oils up into their paws while they groom themselves. Beaver oils are called castoreum, and they come from the castor sacs, which are inside the beaver. In the 1970s and 80s, if you ate something or drank something that had natural vanilla flavoring or natural raspberry flavoring, that was actually beaver's castoreum. So you have, in essence, tasted beaver butt juice. Thankfully, you and I both born after that time, so I don't think we've tasted any beaver butt juice. But any older listeners out there, watch out. Hoppers,
who knows, honestly. But
Hoppers might be traumatic for you.
I think there's a vanilla reference as well with that in this movie. So, like you said, very accurate, which is super fun. But I guess, did they have any thoughts on like the hopping technology itself, like kind of the realisticness of that? Because I feel like that would be, I mean, if that's something realistic, that'd be pretty dope. Because I know they do find it difficult for sure to kind of observe animals without, them running away and stuff. I saw something with National Geographic recently where they made like this, movable camera look like a big pile of dung and kind of just rolled around the Sahara and stuff. So I think like this is a realistic scientific thing of they're looking for ideas, to help observe animals. It's kind of a Star Trek thing too as well. Shout out Insurrection, which is one of the worst next gen movies, but deals with, hiding behind kind of civilizations and just there to, watch people. So I think it is something relevant in the scientific community. Unfortunately, like the mind melding part of it, I don't know how close we are to that, but I would try it.
Got another quote from the article here since you asked about it. We do study animals in the wild that way. If you're rehabbing a baby animal, you might want to dress up as an adult version of it so that it doesn't learn that humans are its parents. We do use robots, although I don't shape mine like beavers. I fly drones pretty often in the field. We use game cameras, which are cameras that you can tie to trees and study beavers that way. I think it would be amazing if we could hop into an actual animal's body and go in there and communicate with them, because you can only learn so much from 10,000 feet in the air. So, no beaver robots, at least that she's using, or I think yet, but hey, maybe in the future.
Well, there's always the conspiracy theories too of like, oh, there's bird robots like watching us and stuff.
All the birds are robots.
Right. Of course. But I feel like it takes a lot of different elements of that too. Of actual scientific stuff they have issues with, and then kind of just throw in the Avatar plot. Like I said, it's a hodgepodge of a ton of stuff, but I really do think it comes together super well. I feel like it could have easily gone the other direction, and like this could have been my least favorite Pixar movie, but I think it cracks my top 10, which is crazy. Like I would have never expected that going in, which is really cool.
And it is a lot like Avatar, because the bad guys are just the white people, the Americans, it's they are the same movie. And maybe you got to come around on the Avatar franchise now. Not that I really have that much either, but the instance of a sequel, would you want to see a new animal world explored? Maybe Penguins was actually the initial pitch here.
Okay.
But they were kind of like, we've done a lot of movies about like penguin societies, obviously, like fucking Surf's Up and Happy Feet and even Penguins of Madagascar, a DreamWorks classic. So they went for beavers, which, beavers do have that, important place in the animal kingdom. But is there something you would want to, is there an animal that hasn't been explored?
I'm down for the penguins, honestly, because then we could just match it up with Surf's Up and do a Kody episode, which that'll come eventually. But the beavers is an interesting choice as well. I think it's a good choice just because they are kind of the catalyst for a lot of ecosystems and stuff. Ecosystems can't survive without the beavers kind of around them, which is fun. So I guess something similar to that.
And not a lot of movies about beavers. Obviously, the beaver.
Yeah, true. I think ants have a fun like mini appearance in this movie, but they're barely there. So maybe exploring that would be fun. Also, bees. I feel like these are movies as well that have already been made by DreamWorks.
Well, and we also have Ant-Man, the superhero. There's a lot of ant
Of
stuff in that.
course. Who could forget
But yeah,
that?
bee movie we've done.
Well, also like rabbits, but we've done like hop, I guess. I mean, it's called Hoppers, and there's also no rabbits in it, which is kind of confusing. I guess like Peter Rabbit too. Like rabbit movies never do well. Um, but Hundreds of Beavers, like that was a hit, right? Or at least a critical hit. The Beaver, shout out your background. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard because basically, like you said, every other animal for the most part has been touched on. So I think beavers was a good choice.
It was fun. I learned about the importance and how well they build those dams. Good for them.
And it is just a good animal to be as well. I mean, like I was saying, they're very productive. They're very important to the society as a whole, and they're really nice, evidently, according to Bobby Moynihan. So all around, I'd say great creatures, really.
Let's talk about some more creatures. Hello and welcome back to Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates talk about Over the Hedge.
I must give the impression that I have the answers for everything. You were so disappointed to see me unravel so easily. It's only change, it's only everything I know. It's only change, and I'm only changing.
As always, I'm your host, Korbin Zvokel, and joining me is my co-host, Kody Webb. Kody, did you know that this movie was set in Indiana?
No, I had no idea about that. Is there a specific location?
Okay, so if you go to the Wikipedia, it's like the first line of the plot summary in Indiana. And I was like, is that for real? Like, I didn't see that anywhere in the movie. But on the Over the Hedge wiki page, the following is said. There's no official confirmation on the location of the film. The Wikipedia article makes several references to the state of Indiana, specifically the city of Chesterton, as a potential location for the film.
Wow. Okay.
However, the best way to approximate the location comes towards the end of the film, based on the scene where the beacon of light destroys the satellite. The light does appear to emanate from Indiana, like on a map. If you look at it on the map, play the scene back, it does kind of look like this is set in Indiana, possibly somewhere on like the west side of Indianapolis. This is theorizing Greencastle, Crawfordsville, maybe a Lafayette. Could this be Purdue? Who knows? So very interesting. And then it was also screened as a work in progress at the 2006 Indianapolis International Film Festival, a few weeks, I think, before the release of the film. This comes out later in 2006, but very strange. Some Indiana connections.
Yeah.
A Chicago filmmaker, I think one of the directors is, but I couldn't really find why that was chosen. The neighborhood's name is El Ranchero Camelot, I think, which is strange.
I didn't know that either.
Add it to the list of Indiana films.
Yeah, true. I mean, we don't have that many, so we'll definitely claim this one. I feel like it's pretty solid. But yeah, it is. I guess it's Indiana coded. I think I would have never guessed that, honestly, but I do just want to do a super slow-mo shot of the satellite, just to kind of do my own tracking. Because yeah, if it's close to the Indy area, I mean, it makes sense too.
Drop a pin, go find the location, see if you can get to
like
the
we do have a ridiculous amount of, like HOA cul-de-sacs. I mean, I used to live in one in Fishers personally.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the that old place that you used to have with Hughes and Colton, right? That you lived there.
Yeah. Shout out.
You might have destroyed some fucking little communities of animals when those houses were built. I mean, I know you weren't there for the building when you were just renting it out, but you might have had Over the Hedge playing out in your backyard.
Yeah, it's factual. I don't know if we ever had any run-ins with possums or raccoons, but probably turtles. I think there was a few turtles in the yard for sure. So shout out to Vern. But Yeah, I think like the setting too, it could really be placed anywhere. It is super cool. It's in Indiana. But obviously, just like with these animals on such a small scale, just this one hedge is life changing. I mean, it's massive. It's this massive, never ending wall, and also the fact, obviously, that it's cut. Basically their forest. I don't know how much. It seems like at least over half, and obviously all of their food supplies.
In one winter.
Yeah, so it was a quick build as well. I feel like there's always construction around here, and it definitely doesn't take, 6 months to build this many houses. It takes at least like 5 years. So maybe a little bit unrealistic on that side of things too. But I think the premise itself is definitely solid. Like we said, too, I mean, kind of similar to Hoppers in a sense of these animals just trying to figure out how to survive, dealing with these new human interactions. I don't know, Hoppers is fun, but this one has a lot of fun, I feel like. Like this one does not take itself as seriously. There is some emotional beats, with kind of the family in the forest. And for me too, actually, this is a movie that I hadn't watched a while since childhood, other than last year. I did fire it up. So it was a little bit of a recent rewatch for me. And honestly, on this rewatch, I did enjoy it a lot more than my previous rewatch last year. And I think it was just, for me, the main character, this RJ raccoon lad, played by Bruce Willis, who shout out Bruce for doing back-to-back episodes on him, which I love. I think the first time around, it was just like, I hated him.
It's an unlikable protagonist.
Yeah, I didn't find the redeeming qualities. But I feel like on a second watch, because obviously where it ends up, and I guess we're going into spoilers, not really, but he ends up, kind of turning a new leaf and being a better guy and kind of joining this family. So I feel like from the get-go, I was more kind of positive on him, which did help, I think, with the overall themes. But was this was this a childhood movie for you, or
I had seen this film before. I had not seen it since I was a child, so
nice?
it was definitely kind of reconnecting with that earlier time in my life. I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, where like my elementary school would have like these movie nights, and I definitely feel like this was one of those movies. It came out in 2006. Actually, comes out May 19th, 2006. So right in
Nice.
between both of our birthdays, a little May movie, which we love. And I have to imagine sometime in like the fall of 2007 or the spring of 2007 is like when I saw this movie. And not many times since, but I do feel like one moment in particular, not to like jump too far ahead and get into like really deep plot details, but the rabies stuff with the fucking squirrel, like I feel like that had a real impact on just me, teaching me what rabies was. I always had that image of just like an animal foaming from the mouth in my head from this point forward. It's one of those things that like kids at school would quote and bring up a lot. So the rest of the movie, honestly, I couldn't have told you the plot or like what was going on other than it's like animals going over the hedge, but vivid memories of the rabies moment. Did you know that this was based on a comic strip?
I definitely had no idea on that. Like what comic? Like, is it just Over the Hedge as well, or?
Over the Hedge, 1995. It originally debuted. I think it's still running. At least it was, still running. It
Oh,
was
really?
picked up as like a replacement for Calvin and Hobbes. So like, I guess similar type
It's a tough
vibes.
one to replace, to be fair. Yeah.
But this movie, you can see it as like an origin story for the characters in the comic strip because like
Okay.
Vern and RJ are friend, like they're all hanging out already, just like when
Right.
the comic starts. So this is kind of like how they all meet and run into humans. It is interesting. This is a movie like about most of these animals meeting humans for the very first time and not even knowing what they are, which I think is an interesting concept. Now I think it would be almost impossible to make a movie that really sells that. It's like, where are there animals that don't know about humans? Obviously, animals don't live very long lives oftentimes, so I guess you could sell that just in their lifetime they haven't met them.
What about the turtle though? Turtles live a long time.
Most animals in America have been drastically affected by the obviously there's places out west that are less affected in natural parks and stuff like that, but
But Midwest, once you get to those subdivisions, yeah, it's tough to miss.
Not in Indiana. Where in Indiana are the raccoons that don't know about humans? Where are they at?
True. Well, yeah, I think it's more like the possum. I guess the possums too. Like I feel like they
The
run into
porcupines.
the porcupines. Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe they don't get as much. And the skunk, like the porcupines and the skunks. I guess that makes sense.
Dude, I used to see so many fucking skunks in New Jersey. Every time I would come home late at night, there'd be skunks running around, and I'd be dodging those things. Never saw skunks living in Indiana, but
Okay. We had some.
spend time in Jersey City. They're everywhere.
Shout out Jersey. Dirty Jersey living up to the name. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely some more in my hometown. You always see one running down the road, I feel like at night or something like that. So I
I
don't
see a
think
possum,
I've never
a lot
seen
of
a
squirrels,
porcupine in person. I don't
not in the
know.
wild.
I've seen a few possums, but I feel like those are pretty rare too, honestly. I've seen a couple of them play dead, which shout out to William Shatner. He does that pretty well here, but I did just want to shout out the cast off the bat here too, because I think it is pretty banging voice cast.
I hit the billing for you.
Yeah, go for it.
It's a lot of like split cards when they appear on screen, which I thought
Yeah,
was interesting. It's Bruce Willis and Gary Shandling together.
love
Uh,
that.
Bruce, of course, listed first. Gary Shandling, any relationship really to him?
I kind of like Gary Shandling. I mean, he's in Iron Man too, so shout out to that. I think he's just a funny guy, and also R.I.P. A lot of people from this cast have passed, unfortunately, but I think Shandling is a standout in this for sure.
They never did a sequel. We'll maybe talk about why, but they probably couldn't now because Gary Shandling's gone, Bruce Willis is retired.
It'd be tough.
It'd be
Catherine O'Hara,
very
yeah.
different. Steve Carell, Wanda Sykes, and William Shatner, all three split, but in that order listed. So
I think Shatner, I mean, he doesn't deserve to be that high. I feel like he's
too high for Shatner. I thought it was a little disrespectful.
he's not a main player, really. I feel like
True.
He's a side character. So I would give him like the width. I think that's a deserved width. But yeah, Steve Carell and Wanda Sykes are definitely deserved, I think, next billing after the main two.
Then Nick Nolte, Thomas Hayden Church, Allison Janney, all together on one card.
Right. So again, like these are just characters that are not as prevalent. Obviously, Nick
got the
Nolte's the
bear.
bear. The
Yep.
HOA lady, right, is out. Or yeah, that's
Allison
definitely
Janney's the
Janney.
HOA lady, yeah.
And then the exterminators, Thomas Hayden Church, which he gets to have fun. I feel like that's maybe the role that's least recognizable because Thomas Hayden Church has a very recognizable voice for myself at least, but he's just playing like this kooky, kind of crazy person, and also Allison Janney is too, to be fair. So I think both of them just get to have a lot of fun.
And then Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Avril Lavigne, and Omid Djalili.
Yeah, shout out Avril Lavigne. Honestly, on first watch, I don't even think I realized that Avril Lavigne was in this movie. So, fan of her music. I don't think she really has done much else acting wise at all, really. So, kind of a fun inclusion just for a voice role. I don't think either that I don't think she did any songs for this movie, which is crazy. Although the soundtrack
Folds.
yeah, I actually on rewatch too. The soundtrack bangs, man. I'm not gonna lie, top tier stuff for a man-made movie. But yeah, also obviously shout out Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. I think they are another presence as well for me. Just having them playing a married, porcupine couple, trying to take care of their kids, was one of my favorite elements. So I do love their inclusion in this as well. Just like two of my favorite, all-time actors and actresses with that couple, and obviously with like Schitt's Creek and tons of other movies that they've been in together. Just cool to see them on screen, again.
Thanks for listening to the episode. You can follow the rest of our happenings over here at Kody and Korbin Have a Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at KHAP Podcasts, KHAPODCAST. Please follow us on Spotify, give us a rating, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow along for more.
Bill Murray and Harold Ramis were considered for RJ and Vern.
Okay. I would have liked to seen Bill Murray. I think Bruce Willis is pretty good, but I mean, you can put Bill Murray in any voice role, and I'm probably on board, honestly.
I think that's very early. And then Jim Carrey was actually like basically hired to be in the movie. It was announced it was going to happen. He came in and did some dialogue sessions, and they just decided that it wasn't gonna really work. It was supposed to be him and Gary Shandling going together, and he was just very much doing his thing. I think also Jim Carrey didn't really like it because it was the animation world where it's like, we've kind of already done the animation. You just need to voice the character rather than Carrey being able to like actually express himself and, improv and do his own thing and make it emote in the way that he would. So it was kind of just not really gelling. So then he was replaced by Bruce Willis. And Bruce Willis, it's funny. He said he kind of sees this as like a return to form from his Moonlighting character. He hadn't really gotten to do like a lighthearted kind of comedy type thing. He'd been doing actions or the deep, Sixth Sense dramas. And this was his chance to kind of have some fun again. But kind of some interesting what ifs. Carrie, obviously, you know, an icon, but it maybe does overpower things, whereas Bruce Willis really kind of just mellows out and sits into this role. It's not intense at all.
I think that is good casting in the end for sure. I think Carrie maybe is like would have been better suited for the Hammy role, you know, the squirrel instead of Steve Carell. Steve Carell is great, obviously. I think. I mean, you could have put Steve Carell in any role in this movie, and he would have been fine. I think he's that good of an actor. But I think Carrie, like you said, you want that kind of craziness, you know, just improv style. Like that's when he's at his best, I feel like, and his funniest. So I don't know if the RJ character, more of this slime bag with kind of hidden motives, is really something that you know just jives with Carrie. And it is a cool part for Willis too. Like you said, I mean, it's past his prime in the action genre. But it's like the Live Free and Die Hard. It's like after that movie, I feel like, you know, he comes to Over the Hedge. So it's almost his escape from like the shitty action movie genre, which I think he deserves. And, you know, obviously he went on to do a lot more drama and a lot more comedy after this. And maybe this was a bit of a launching point for him.
Yeah, and you know, it's cool. We didn't get to talk a ton about, I feel like, Willis specifically on the episode last week. It's fun to do a little double with him. It's unfortunate, you know, the health issues he's had, the way he kind of had to like approach his career. I looked it up. He did 21 movies from 2021 to 2023, just as like, you know, he
Oh,
was
wow.
working a ton trying to get these, you know, a lot of kind of B action movies out to make some money to be able to pay for, you know, his, you know, medical bills and health expenses, because we live in a fucked up country that, you know, even, you know, our richest actors are going to be struggling at their end of their life when they have dementia. There is a lot of work out there to go find. There was one, what was the name of it? There was one trilogy that he did in a year and a half span that seemed kind of interesting to me. The Detective Knight films, Kody. You have Detective Knight Road, Detective Knight Redemption, and Detective Knight Independence.
Good titles.
All of them lower than a 4.1 on IMDb, unfortunately. But
Not great, but
Bruce Willis, he's still one of the greats. You got to remember him for the good stuff like Over the Hedge, and of course, you know, all the classics: Armageddon, Pulp Fiction, Die Hard, of
oh yeah,
course.
iconic actor, and he deserves kind of any role he wants, I think, in a sense. So cool to see him get a lead like this in an animated flick, and yeah, just have a lot of fun. I mean, like his character obviously is just you know this goofball trying to right some wrongs and steal a bunch of food from humans. Like I think the premise itself is it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, I mean. This raccoon, I guess he's kind of boys with this bear too. Like they are kind of friends. Well, I want to shout out to the opening, and then it's kind of a running gag throughout is you know this moment where the cheesy puffs get stuck in the vending machine, and then that kind of sets off his hunger to where he has to go steal Nick Nolte the bear's food. I wanted to ask you two though, like I don't know if I've ever actually gotten something stuck like that in a vending machine, but I feel like we see that a ton in media. I think I've had it maybe where it's just like eating my money, like the machine doesn't work itself. But has anything actually ever gotten like stuck like that for you? I feel like it's just unrealistic, but it's so common in media.
I can't think of like where specifically, but I definitely have had
Okay.
chips and stuff get stuck in a vending machine. Not a ton. The most recent thing that happened to me, the new office where I work, there's a soda machine, and it's one of those ones where it's like it like moves and it grabs the soda and then like comes over and it opens the
Mhm.
door and it pops out. Um, and it would you would type in the number and it would go and it would go up to the soda and it would pop the thing and then nothing would come out. And then it would move over to the door like it had the drink and it would act like it was depositing it. And then it would be like, oh, no drink found. And then it wouldn't open. And then it would say that that row was sold out. So then you would try and
Gotcha.
it did get fixed after a few days, but you know,
That's
vending
good.
machines, they can cause problems. I have firsthand experience that it is possible. 75 cents for a bag of chips, though,
Yeah.
makes me miss the year 2006.
'06 was a much different time, unfortunately, but yeah, okay. At least it's somewhat relatable for people then, so that's a good thing. But from there, obviously, I want to talk about just the scene of him stealing it, you know, from Nick Nolte. It's just like you know, it's an interesting opening because you see how crafty, you know, this raccoon is. Obviously, this bear's in hibernation, so he's making noise and stuff. But I mean, he gets all this stuff, jumps the wagon over the bear with like an inflatable floaty thing or like an inflatable raft, which I thought was a dope move. And then another recurring thing that I want to bring up too is shout out to the Spuddies, which I feel like is obviously just a play on Pringles.
Oh yeah, the tubular chips.
Yeah, it's a continuous moment of he always doubles down and has to get the Spuddies for some reason. He even opens the can once he gets it, and that awakes Nick Nolte. And then obviously at the end of the movie again, it's like multiple times throughout the movie. Actually, he goes for him, and it ends up being bad. So, do we think it's a hit piece on Pringles a little bit, or it's more of a character motivation thing? I couldn't tell honestly.
I tell you what, it's not sponsored. I know that. They didn't get the Pringles dollars, unfortunately. I do like the moment when he takes it and he gets like the Indiana Jones thing where he swaps it out. And really, he would have gotten away. But this motherfucker is just too greedy. It's good character building stuff right off the bat. He's got to have the chips right there in that moment. And when he pops it, that's when the bear wakes up, which is great stuff.
You see who that character is right away, though, which I think they do a good job. And I want to shout out off the bat too, just like his kind of bag of tricks, which is just another fun character thing. I mean, he's got like a grappling hook. He's got fishing gear. He's got a golf club.
One of those like things you get at the zoo that's got like a dinosaur head on it that he can try
Yes.
and reach with. Doesn't
True.
get him any help in the vending machine.
He's got a boomerang. He's got a plunger. I mean, what does he not have in his bag? So I thought that was a fun thing too. Of like you give the main character, just an endless bag of goodies. It's just a fun inclusion, and it puts together so many different moments where, when they're going for the food, he always has a way in and out, which I think it just makes it more fun.
Yeah, and he's a fun con artist type character. He's kind of like Nick Wilde in Zootopia a little bit, Sly Fox, Raccoon, they got similar vibes. Then they also said that the Music Man was like an influence of like the con man comes into town, shows up all these people. Because the rest of them are kind of clueless. They're ignorant to what humans are like, so he can lie to them and tell them all these awful things. But family, he learns about the importance of family, and that changes his mind, so he gets a great character arc there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the heart of the movie, like I was saying on the second rewatch around, that's what hit me harder. I did like the family aspect a lot and him finding his family. I thought it was an emotional beat that did work a little bit better on the second watch for me. And I think too that does have to just play into, Shandling as Vern the turtle, who is, obviously the undisputed leader of this family coming in. And it makes it a very interesting dynamic where obviously RJ basically replaces him. And Shandling has to deal with that emotionally. Obviously, feelings of jealousy and hatred are involved. But eventually they, kind of come together and they have this really good friendship and this really good duo. I thought every time, Vern and RJ were on the screen together, it was definitely an interesting moment. But also too, like anytime Hammy is on screen, I think he's a steam stealer. Of course, he has his Quicksilver moment at the end, which is, absolutely awesome. Definitely was ripped off by the X-Men and several other films, say the least. But like I said off the bat, I think Steve Carell is just perfect casting. Any animated role of his, I think he's going to kill. But giving him kind of, this hyper, squirrel who can't stay focused and is always hungry, like it's just going to add so much comedic charm to the movie, and just, I mean, make this family as a whole a lot more lovable. Because I feel like some of the characters aren't super likable, specifically RJ in the beginning of the movie. And yeah, like the possums, I don't I don't love Shatner, to be completely honest. The Porcupine family's definitely cute. Wanda Sykes as a skunk, just kind of there, I feel like, for a lot of the movie until the ending. But I feel like Hammy is kind of the linchpin that, kept me caring about everyone throughout.
That slow-mo scene sets the standard for what they call should be moving forward. And I think Carell's performance is fine, and I don't think the character is that funny necessarily, but he's definitely the most energetic and he's the most memorable thing about the whole movie. I really thought this movie is fine, to be honest, on rewatch. I
I'm
don't
hyping
think
it
it's
up.
that funny. Like
Mhm.
it is very much PG, and it's in the similar DreamWorks framework where they're adding in some adult jokes, and they do like they plug up Wanda Sykes or whatever, and
That's funny.
there's
The cork.
innuendos, but it's not as heavy as Shrek, and it's not as parody. This one's a little bit more straightforward, kiddish to me. So just a lot of that stuff doesn't work. It is an interesting, moral film, a moral
Yeah.
question. It's a movie about temptation. You could say it's biblical. It's about the Garden of Eden and Satan tempting Adam and Eve. I watched some YouTube video essay that tried to make that argument.
It's kind of
Maybe
like
not
Les
quite
Mis. It's like Les
quite
Mis a
there.
little bit, Do you
Sure.
steal the bread
Yeah,
for
the
your family?
French Revolution and everything. But it is, these there are people, and yes, Fern's the leader, but they're a society. They're kind of this collective that works together to gather their food, and they stay in the natural world. They're like the indigenous people of America, even. And here we come in, society, suburban, urban sprawl, fucking HOAs and humans, and the only two fucking human faces we really even see this are they're just middle-class white people who are just like taking over the environment and building their hedges, their ugly, hedges, and destroying these poor people's homes. So, but then the question for them is, do they cling on to what they have left, or do they adapt? Do they get tempted by capitalism, by the consumerism, by the product, the packaged stuff that the humans have, or do they, gather acorns for each other? So, there are definitely metaphors abound in this film.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are honestly a lot of themes to kind of touch on, especially too, like you're saying, their area has been dwindled. RJ even has that map showing you like,
The
how much
westward
forest.
expansion,
Yeah.
Ranchero, Camelot. They must
It-
seize.
Ranchero.
Colonialism.
It all ties together. And also too,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it has a fun idea of just the commentary on humans. One of my favorite lines from the movie is, "We eat to live. These guys live to eat." And then talking about, how our mouth is called a pie
Explains
hole.
every single, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is a very interesting commentary on humans. And then obviously, throw in the crazy HOA lady, who's definitely a scene stealer as well. Maybe a little bit too crazy, I think, for her own good. But her talking about, oh, the grass is supposed to be 2 inches high, not 3 inches. And then, just the extremity, once the animals kind of come in and start stealing, obviously turning to the exterminator who goes, I love the line too, talking about, I don't care if this is against the Geneva Convention. I need this. And the shout out to Texas as well as the only
Only
state that
places
allows
is
this.
legal.
Yeah. So just some funny commentary that I feel like, like you were saying, they throw in some adult jokes, which kept me kind of, locked into the story.
She does have a good license plate. Gladys, $, $.
Shout out to Weapons.
That's character building right there. And yeah, this might be the prequel movie. I think they did announce they're doing a
Honestly.
Weapons prequel, but this might be
Well, at the
how
end,
Gladys got there.
I mean, her hair, it kind of looks exactly like Gladys. So we might have just made that connection, low key. I didn't think
Obviously, the Verminator is rocking the tough comb over. If your hair ever looks like that, just shave it off. Trust me. And but she herself is you're right, when they get beamed, which your background, I do love that scene with the light beam and they're making popcorn and 3D glasses, sunglasses, whatever protection, Oppenheimer Trinity test sequence vibes. Nolan, we know you're a fan.
He was inspired.
Gladys ends up looking rough at the end of it.
I think for comedic moments, that is one of the better ones for me, is that end. Obviously, it's just kind of tying the story together, and definitely a satisfying conclusion, I would say, with obviously the animals winning. But a couple other moments too that I think are just, or laugh out loud moments for myself, specifically when there's kind of the chase scene with the dog, and they just they keep going straight through the fences of the neighbors and stuff, just one after another. I think it's like 10 in a row. And then eventually they get to a guy grilling and they just steal. They end up stealing his gas from the grill, and it basically turns into a rocket ship. So
propane tank rocket ship. Shout out to the Artemis 2 yesterday.
True. Another connection. Shout out Armageddon as well. But I just thought that was like a solid comedic moment, in a movie that it is pretty small scale, I would say, in general. It's basically these animals in this one house just going, to battle. Also, I guess too, I didn't think about that, but like, I mean, couldn't they have just gone to the next house down? I mean, they probably did, I guess. But, when this lady has all these laser grit and stuff, which again, I think is pretty funny, just go to the next house down and it'd probably be easier. But she just don't want to party, to be fair. But yeah, I just want to shout out the rocket sequence. And then also too, at the very end, the kids driving sequence. I thought that was solid too, of kind of the callback to them playing the video games and the one line of, I'm going to turn this car around. It's just kind of the irony of the kids and everything with Eugene and Catherine O'Hara and the family. I thought it was solid altogether and definitely added to those comedic elements when they did come up. The bonus points, that line, bonus points when they hit the balloons, and then that obviously takes out the bear. One of my favorites.
Cocaine bear vibes in that sequence. It's like he's chasing after that ambulance in that film.
Well, and they corkscrew at the end. They're going 99 off a ramp and corkscrew into the HOA lady's house. So, and everybody's okay. I mean, obviously
her house. Well, not her house.
Not her house. But I mean, I don't know how anybody survives that with no seatbelts, but it worked out.
There was an Over the Hedge video game. I think there was actually 2 different versions, but ripe for the taking. You get to be the little animal creature, go steal some food, play some mini games. Chicken Little vibes in that way. I'm surprised you are a fan of this movie because I think, those 2 films hand in hand as well.
I think it's just like the world building of Chicken Little just pisses me off.
That's also very much a society, they're mirroring the human world type thing.
Right. They want to be humans versus in this, it's like humans hate us and then they hate them. So,
but the great video game for Chicken Little was my main point. I don't know if I brought that up when we did our episode, so. But I loved playing the Chicken Little video game.
Was there a baseball sequence? Surely, right?
I think there was, and it wasn't great, but it was mostly like you just had to like run around town and like hide from aliens, and I could never really beat it because it was you just running around town. Yeah.
It's hard to escape those aliens, to be fair, when they are the entire sky. But yeah, I would think the Over the Hedge video game would be much better, unless it's an extended baseball sequence, which is possible. I wanted to go back to the soundtrack, because I think, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, but I don't know much about Ben Folds. I think he was a judge on The Voice, or not The Voice, the acapella show. What was that called?
The acapella show?
Yeah, I did watch it growing up.
Barbershop Quartet.
It had like Pentatonics and there's a guy from Boys to Men was a judge as well.
The Sing Off.
There you go. Yeah, good show, underrated show. Shout out if you guys have seen that. But that's where I know Ben Folds from. I don't know anything else about him, to be completely honest. But I thought all these songs were pretty solid, especially the end credits song I thought banged. There was kind of an emotional song in the middle that was solid. And it was pretty much all of this guy. Like I said, I mean, I would have loved to seen an Avril Lavigne feature at some point. It's honestly very puzzling that she's not included. But on rewatch, that was my biggest takeaway of much more positive than my first few watches was the soundtrack. It absolutely smacks.
I do not like this soundtrack. I think it's really annoying and corny. And also
too
kind
corny.
Of weird.
Okay. Coming from Chicken Little guy.
Tell me what you want, what you really want. That's a great soundtrack. First of all, I didn't know who Ben Folds was at all. I had no reference to him on the Sing Off. He's kind of like a indie rock, alternative rock.
Yeah. He's like a nerdy rock guy.
Yeah, it's weird. Nerdy rocky dude. He's kind of doing like social satire. He did music for the Hoodwinked soundtrack as well. And then of course does all the heavy lifting here on Over the Hedge. Lost in the Supermarket is a song by The Clash that he covered. That song's okay. The very first song, Family of Me, which is like the beginning, I think, opening credits song, I think is like really bad. Just totally uninteresting.
That's probably, that's on the lower tier, I think, for the soundtrack. That's fair.
Still, which is kind of like the emotional song that's happening in like the third act, Dark Night of the Soul, is decent. Like, I think that's a fine song. Funny enough, Billie Eilish did like a TikTok video a couple years ago where she like covered the song. It's a pretty good version of it. Much better than the Ben Folds. But then the Rocket in the Suburbs is the real strange one. And this was a song that Ben Folds had already written prior to this. And then he basically just completely rewrote it for the end track of this movie and only kept the main chorus, Rocket in the Suburbs. So I wanted to run a comparison of the lyrics of these two songs and tell me which one you think you prefer. Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
Here is the first verse of the Over the Head version. Let me tell you what it's like watching Idol on a Friday night in a house built safe and sound on Indian burial grounds. Sham on. Then the original version. Let me tell you what it's like being male, middle class, and white. It's a bitch if you don't believe. Listen up to my new CD. Sham on.
Uh-oh.
Verse 2 on Over the Hedge. We drive our cars every day, to and from work both ways. So we make just enough to pay to drive our cars to work each day. Hey, hey. Verse 2 of the original. I got shit running through my brain. It's so intense that I can't explain. All alone in my white boy pain. Shake your booty while the band complains. On to the chorus.
Interesting.
Over the hedge, we're rocking in the suburbs. Around the block just one more time. We're rocking in the suburbs because I can't tell which house is mine. We're walking in the suburbs. We part the shades and face the facts. They've got better looking fescue right across the cul-de-sac. And then in the original, I'm rocking the suburbs just like Michael Jackson did. I'm rocking the suburbs, except that he was talented. I'm rocking the suburbs. I take the checks and face the facts that some producer with computers fixes all my shitty tracks. He goes on to talk about like McDonald's and he curses some more. And it's an interesting thing because that original song is like, he's like doing it in the voice of a person who lives in the suburbs and is like a nerdy white guy, but he also is kind of that person. It's supposed to be like a Korn / Rage Against the Machine diss a little bit of, but that's kind of bad because like that's not really the background of either of those artists. But it's like fake people who haven't gone through struggles being, you know, like rockers and in, you know, punk. Then it just gets turned into a weird Over the Hedge in credits song that is like super sanitized in like the most basic version of like suburban hate, and it becomes much more like literal about just like people limiting their worldview. I don't know, it's strange.
Yeah, the OG version, I was definitely not aware of, and not a big fan of, just from the initial reaction there. I'd say it's pretty horrific.
There is a Shatner monologue in the Over the Head version, which might make you like that less.
Yeah, it just depends if you love Shatner or not. But I do think the Over the Hedge version, it is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Like it is catchy, it's got a good beat, and the lyrics are simple. Like it's definitely a kids kids movie song, I would say. So yeah, probably a good thing maybe that the original is just buried into existence and maybe we only know about it. But yeah, definitely not a fan. I guess I'm much less of a fan of Ben Folds after that specifically, but still a fan of the soundtrack. So I'll stand by the end credit song as a banger.
My delivery, of course, I'm sure detracted
Well,
from
well, the lyrics
performance of that.
themselves, I think, speak for them, speak for it. So I don't think it has much to do with you, to be honest. But I want to say too, I don't know if you did stick around through the credits of this movie. Because there's actually a couple of small things.
Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, in the middle of the credits, there's a Wrath of Khan mention, which is so stupid. I don't even know if I like it.
Steve Carell says it,
Yes,
so it's
but
not
obviously,
Shatner doing it.
it's just the only reason they included is definitely Shatner. I feel like, which
I mean, they make Citizen Kane reference. I think Wrath of
Yes.
Khan and Citizen Kane are on like the
But
similar playing
that's a
field,
good
so it makes
reference,
sense
though.
to reference.
I think that's another fun, just like moment as rewatching as adults that you wouldn't understand as a kid. That I think is great for a movie like this. But also at the very end, they do have an end credits scene too. Did you? Okay,
Another
you saw it
vending
too.
machine, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does the, full circle moment, which I love. And we talk about it that a ton of, similar opening and ending shots. And this time, they break the bank, they break the machine, they get everything, but it's too packed for them to open. So I love the irony kind of that ending too. And yeah, to bookend it with kind of that song and then that end scene, I thought was an effective way to kind of circle back around for the whole movie.
And another important lesson to learn: don't have too much of a good thing.
It's true.
There is a short film, Hammy's Boomerang Adventure. I didn't take the chance to watch it, but it was available on the DVD release, which I think was somewhat popular. This film did make $336 million worldwide.
Ooh,
so it was a
pretty
decent
good.
hit, but not really enough to justify a sequel in their eyes is essentially the belief. Especially, you do an animated movie like this, the cast is going to get a bigger pay bump, rightfully so. On the second film, marketing, it probably would have made less. Like, I don't know. It's weird because if you look at the history of DreamWorks, there's not a ton of movies that they made that made more money than this, but most of the movies that did make more money than this, they made sequels to. So I'll run through that real quick. Shrek, Shrek 2, Madagascar, and Shark Tale, which did not get a sequel,
Oh wow. Okay.
were the only DreamWorks films prior to this that made more money. B Movie made less than this, which was released right after it. Flush Away made less than this, which was right after it. Monsters versus Aliens, which was like 2-3 years later, made less than this movie. So it like was a bigger hit than that tier of DreamWorks, but still not big enough of a hit to justify a sequel.
In my head, I feel like the reason for that is it's just a little bit more relatable with its premise. Like it's so straightforward of just animals trying to, eat human food. So it's an easy sell, I feel like, to parents. And yeah, also that is shocking to me that Shark Tale made more money. I've never seen Shark Tale, to be completely honest. Maybe one I should watch. But evidently it killed it at the box office. I guess Scorsese has that draw for some reason, but
only a little bit more money. I mean, it's a Will Smith movie when you think about huge Hollywood stars. It made 374 million, so it's not.
Who's the main girl more. Fish? I think it's somebody, Angelina Jolie or maybe it is her.
Renee Zellweger and Angelina Jolie are both in the film.
Those are big names, to be fair.
As well as Robert De Niro, Jack Black, and of course Marty, like you said.
It's a great cast, to be fair. And also, I mean, the cast at this moment, like I feel like if this movie was released, in the 2020s with this cast, obviously, some people have passed away, but I feel like the brand name of a lot of these people, like Steve Carell, Eugene Levy, has just increased a lot over time. Obviously not Shatner, but I want to get your thoughts on him too. What do you think about Shatner in this movie? His character, I guess, or his performance?
He's pretty forgettable. Like I do think you were right earlier in saying that a lot of the ancillary animal characters like don't have a ton to do. It is really the Vern, RJ, and Hammy show. I think Wanda Sykes is underappreciated by you, but she gets to have her moment with the cat. Of course, there was a sequel pitch. It was going to be them in a mall, and the Verminator.
That's
was going to be basically Paul Blart Mall Cop. Maybe Paul Blart, I guess, beat him to the punch potentially.
True.
But we'll never get to see it.
That crossover would be sick. Paul Blart and Over the Hedge would be electric, but that is actually a banging sequel idea. I think you could honestly do that today and it would do pretty well. Obviously, just with kind of the deaths of some of the cast and Bruce kind of in his shape. A little unfortunate, but yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. And I'm a little bit disappointed they didn't do it. But yeah, I wouldn't say with Wanda Sykes too. I mean, like I was saying, I think she is just kind of in the background a little bit. They don't really use her for anything until that climactic, scene. But that scene was solid, and she has really funny moments in that. Obviously dressing up as the cat, just her kind of back and forth with the other cat as well. The realization that I believe he's a Persian cat, so he can't smell, so they're kind of this perfect match. I thought was a fun arc for her character, but I do wish in the beginning that she was just kind of more relevant because Wanda Sykes is awesome. Like shout out another one of my childhood movies, Evan Almighty, where Wanda Sykes was ingrained in my brain from the beginning because she's absolutely hilarious. Like I think she's one of the better comics of this era. So I just wish that she was given a little bit more to do.
In like a surprisingly progressive bit of casting, they actually have a real Iranian man playing the Persian cat, like a person actually from Persia, which is you wouldn't expect from like a 2006 animated film. He was from London, but he was of Iranian descent. I think his parents were from there. So like, that's very interesting to include him. I like the cat and the dog both as characters, as like, domesticated animals, but still kind of on the side of even the wild ones, which, is sometimes true. I feel like.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, even the dog, he just wants to play.
Oh, I mean, that's all he wants. I mean, can you blame him? He wants to play with the turtle shell. It's a great ball. It's a great toy. So can't blame him too much. But I wanted to mention Avril Lavigne one last time. We don't have to keep bringing her up. But it's just like, I mean, her character doesn't have a ton to do. She does get booted by the HOA lady at the end, which I think is pretty funny. But it's just like, I don't understand why she's in this movie. Like I said, I love her inclusion, but it's not like they give her anything to do. They don't give her any singing. It kind of seems like a cash grab sort of casting for no reason. And I'm just very confused by it because I do actually like Avril Lavigne's music. But again, it's just like, I feel like I should know she's in this movie. I've seen it multiple times before. And this is the first time I realized that she's in it, which is just strange, I feel like.
Think it was like an honest swerve into like maybe I'll be an actress. She was in a Linklater film, Fast Food Nation, in '06 as well.
Okay.
The director and the interviews that I was watching like talked about it as like we got Avril Lavigne, like that's exciting, like her debut, like her first role, and I think it is technically her introducing a role on film.
Wow.
Everything else is on her IMDb is just a bunch of music videos, so I don't know. It's like a what if, if Over the Hedge was like a crazy hit and they had done the sequel, maybe Avril Lavigne is an Oscar-winning actress at this point.
I don't know if I go that far, but we can wish. We can be hopeful.
And maybe this is the whole thing with her getting, cloned or whatever, and that's why she didn't end up
Yeah.
doing it.
I didn't know if I wanted to bring that up, but that is an interesting thing
Conspiracy
too.
theory.
Of one of the, I mean, obviously with a lot of conspiracy theories kind of coming to fruition recently, it's like you can't really rule anything out. But
Her and the
that one,
birds, man.
that one
They're
is one of the
both
crazier
fake.
ones. Yeah, I would be shocked if that's true. But also at the same time, it kind of lines up, with this movie and stuff too. So it's interesting for sure, her inclusion.
This movie did open against the Da Vinci Code. It was number 2 overall. Da Vinci Code was number 1.
I believe the Da Vinci Code got a sequel, so that lines up. Yeah,
But
almost
it stayed
almost
pretty
made it.
consistent. It only dropped like 30% first weekend. X-Men: The Last Stand came out.
Oh
You
Jesus.
know, tied with the X-Men franchise again there. So it was third place behind that and the Da Vinci Code. But then it had like a good Memorial Day. Um, you know, Kept going, stayed in third place. The Breakup came out as well. Shout out to Vince Vaughn.
A pretty
You could
solid.
imagine you could have seen The Last Stand, Da Vinci Code, The Breakup, and Over the Hedge all in theaters.
It's true. I'm
Major
actually
number 6, man.
happy I wasn't able to see The Last Stand in theaters. That might have been like one of the one movies in my life I would have walked out
Heartbreaking.
on. Just bad. But I mean, speaking of the X-Men too, shout out to Hammy again. I mean, the ending climactic scene, it's literally with like 10 minutes left in the movie. It's one of the last scenes. But I think it is the most memorable for myself for sure. Just because, of how it inspired so many other, movies to do similar stuff of, freezing everything around you, and especially too with the laser grid. I think it's super effective of showing how fast he is. Even they
You
do a
see the
super,
lasers moving.
yeah, it's
He
cool.
might be the fastest character we've ever seen. Is he
Yeah,
faster than Quicksilver?
I think he's up there. I think that race would be interesting for sure. But I think there's a fun moment too where it's the callback to the cookie on the roof. He sees that again during that sequence, and it's just like a blip snap of it's a quick cut, and he was down on the ground, and then he has the cookie, and he's heading back. So it's just like, oh my gosh, man, this guy is unbelievably fast. But that's why you don't give squirrels, caffeine or energy drinks, which was probably a good call from the get-go from RJ. But yeah, I think for me, that's definitely the best scene in the movie in my eyes.
His name is Hammy, and he is a little hammy. I will say he's hamming it up a little bit, but he's a great character. And in the shaving cream around the mouth, man.
Yeah. I mean the rabid, like you said, the rabid squirrel is just kind of it's in the cultural zeitgeist of, kids of that era for sure. That was something as well in my school. I feel like that was a big thing of, a rabid squirrel. Like it's just like one of those moments that gets repeated, and eventually you even forget kind of where it comes from and stuff like that. So yeah, but other than that, with Hammy as a character, I mean, does he have an arc? No. But does he need one? Not really. Like you said, the focus is between, Vern and RJ over everything else. And I think that relationship does work for me. So the fact that some of these other side characters like, Wanda Sykes and Hammy, you know, I guess Wanda Sykes, like her arc is, she found her man. So at least she had one.
She found his
But
love in a hopeless place.
yeah, Hammy doesn't really need one. But I guess we could have included that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really mostly RJ and Vern getting the real character growth here. And I do like Vern as a character. I love that scene when he kind of does first go over to the hedge. They do this like low angle camera trick, they add distortion to all the animation. This movie, not super beautifully animated, but it does have some fun moments like that where at least it's flourishing. Otherwise, it is pretty standard mid 2000s
Yeah,
DreamWorks look.
I do definitely concede there. I don't think the animation style is kind of the standout or anything with this movie. Like you said, I mean, very basic. I feel like obviously, still early on for DreamWorks, so they're still, working out a lot of stuff, and it's hard to make, a lot of their other films before this, like we were saying, Shrek and some other ones, they're not in the real world. This is kind of set to be pretty realistic and, realistic looking animals. So I think that is, for this time
It could
era,
have been cuter.
yeah. I don't know the turtle. I think Vern is, he's especially with
When he
his
takes
shell
that shell
off.
off.
Yeah. is a good looking guy, but yeah, I agree. I think the animation, if it was made 5 years later, it probably would have been improved a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess RJ isn't really supposed to be a cute character, but I like a little trash panda. I think they're adorable usually, and I guess the skunk. She's got the luminous green eyes, and when
True.
she's in cat mode,
Luminous.
she's looking good.
True. The charcoal does wonders, I think. But yeah, I thought that was a funny scene too of the transformation into the cat. Finding all of just these natural elements to, and then obviously the haircut as well. It took a while to get rid of those bangs, but it was overdue, I think. So I thought that was another fun scene.
Take off her glasses, let down her hair. Oh, look at that. She's beautiful.
Classic. Never
Classic.
seen that before.
They do cork her hole, which is, I don't like that.
Well, I think the idea of it is to like, cover up the scent, but it ends up
Right.
not being an important factor, obviously.
Well, it
Um,
shoots out when she does eventually
right.
decide she needs to let
Well, I
her
think
stink out. But
that's kind of a funny moment. I mean, that's like a dumb kid's fun moment, I guess. But when the cork gets unpopped and she's saying fire in the hole, and then it's obviously the cut to the wide shot of the house. Like that's a fun visual gag. I feel like with a fart joke, which is super basic, but with a skunk, I mean, it kind of makes it a lot better.
the exterminator's name is Dwayne LaFontaine.
Is that? I didn't know if he was just giving himself that
He
nickname,
announces
LaFontaine,
himself
but
that as
Dwayne,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like French, but then Dwayne. Isn't I think Paul Dano's character from Little Miss Sunshine is a Dwayne, but La Fontaine also not a great name for him. So it's a little bit questionable, I think, with the with the naming of the exterminator. I don't even know if he needs a name. He's just the exterminator. Like I feel like that's kind of a gag maybe we didn't need.
Yeah, he's got an associate's degree from Verm Tech, so he's legit.
I mean, what does that even mean? It just means like he went through training. Like it's not a. I don't think you can
Well,
just say associate's degree.
He's got a 2-year degree. That's what an associate's degree is. A 2-year degree
Okay.
from a college that apparently is
I,
specializing in vermin.
I thought it was okay. So Vermtech is the college or is
Verm
it the
Tech.
company? I thought it was the company.
I read that as he went to Verm Tech University. He has an associate's degree,
Sounds
2
like a
years of
Key and
college.
Peele sketch. Yeah, Vermtech University. But hey, good for him, man. I mean, he definitely did his work. I mean, he smelled all the animals right away. He first thought it was a reptile as well, and then no, doubled down and got it right. Or is it the opposite way? I don't know.
It-
What's a turtle?
He thought it was an amphibian.
Okay, I
And
was
it
wrong.
was a reptile. See, even you
Turtles
don't
are
know.
confusing.
That might be my favorite running gag. Is he an amphibian or a reptile? I don't know. Frogs are amphibians, Cody.
Yeah, it's all about the warm and the cold bloodedness, right? But
Yeah,
I need to
how they
be
have their
reschooled. It's confusing because turtles are obviously land and water creatures. They're kind of both, but definitely reptiles. You're right.
in season 5 of The Apprentice. There was a reward challenge where the winners of the reward got to
Oh,
have cameos
Jesus.
in this film. So Lunch
What?
Table Larry and Barbecue Barry, who I think are just like one off. I don't even really know at
That
what
must be the
point.
guy who they stole the gas from,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What was the
they're
first
in the
one?
dog chase scene.
Lunchtime? Who?
Lunch Table Larry and
Lunch Table
Barbecue
Larry.
Barry are the
Oh,
character names.
gotcha. It's a guy that just run through his lunch table, I think. Okay.
Lee Beanstalk and Sean Yazbek, 2 participants on The Apprentice 5. Sean Yazbek won that season of The Apprentice,
Okay.
but he also got to be in Over the Hedge, so that was his greatest gift of all. Very
Interesting.
weird time culturally.
Interesting inclusion. Don't know much about the show The Apprentice. I did watch a few seasons of Celebrity Apprentice, where I believe Brett Michaels won the season, and Gary Busey was also there. So my 10-year-old self, I was entertained, but yeah, not a great show.
Better days. Better days.
Wish we could go back.
Any other final thoughts about this one?
I think final thoughts. I just want to hear your rating on it too. I don't think you had logged it yet. I did want to say that my initial rewatch last year, I give it 3 stars. Kind of just, a dumb fun, like you said, kids comedy, very, very kid coded. But yeah, this time, like I said, kind of the soundtrack and just RJ as a character was a little bit kind of more up to, DreamWorks standards of a good film. So I bumped it up 3.5. But my guess for you, just based off this episode, is maybe 2.5 stars. Where are we sitting?
2.5 stars, right?
Okay,
Right on the cusp,
I'm
I
fine
would
with
say,
that.
of two. Right above Flash Gordon, our recent episode.
Nice.
Below Paul Blart Mall Cop, and of
Wow.
course Chicken Little.
You have Paul Blart pretty high. That's crazy. Paul
I mean,
Blart's
I
at two
have
and a
Paul
half.
Blart is at 101, so these are all out of the
Right.
top 100 movies we've covered at this point.
Yeah, Paul Blart and Chicken Little are miles below this for me. So, but a fun inclusion, I think, to talk about. So I'm happy we did an episode.
Definitely impactful to my childhood. And before we wrap up, it's time for the return of Physical Media Corner. We
Go.
haven't done it in a few weeks, and we've got Beaver themed, we got DreamWorks, and we got Bruce Willis here in the stack. So
Let's go.
you mentioned Hundreds of Beavers earlier, so I think I've shown this off before, but the wood book, not steel. It's literally made of wood. We love
Love the
beavers.
woodbook.
Printed on there.
Iconic.
The film inside. A lot of cool special features on there as well.
That'll probably be a future episode, I think, eventually. We'll get around to
Yeah,
that.
I think one day we'll get to the beavers. I threw it out as an option for this, but I think the Over the Hedge choice was very wise.
It
We
was
got to have some
inspired.
fun
Yeah.
DreamWorks conversations, and of course, I think the two top tier DreamWorks films before we get into our mini draft, the Shrek franchise, Shrek 2 or Shrek 1, Cody, which one's better?
I think I'm a Shrek 2 guy. It's close though. It's close.
I agree. Shrek 2, it's got Puss in Boots, of course,
And a dragon. I mean, come on. Can't beat that.
Dragon donkey sex is good. I do have one Steve Carell item here.
Oh, nice. I've never seen Get Smart.
DVD Get Smart. There's bonus scenes that will deliver 62% more laughs.
Oh, wow. Very specific percentage point there. Interesting.
I got this for $3.99 at a thrift store.
It must have been 62% off normal price or discount. Good deal.
Written in Sharpie, 110 minutes. It does have a digital code inside, which means this is from the year 2008. I doubt it's still still would let you get anything. But on the inside, little leaflet, Harry Potter, Happy Feet. I don't know what film that is on the bottom. Can you tell?
Something of the story. I can't. It's too small.
It's just well, it
What does it
says
say?
closer to the action, closer to the feeling, closer to the story, but I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
what
Oh, that's a dope shot.
the Matrix is inside. Oh, here we go. It might be one of these films. Happy Feet, Superman
Looks like
Returns.
Goodfellas. Is that the cover of Goodfellas? Looks like it. In the bottom right.
I don't think
This-
good.
What do you mean? There's Goodfellas right there, isn't there? What's the third to the right poster on the bottom? I can't see
This
it. It's
side?
too small. No,
This
the other
side?
side. No, the other
This
side.
side?
Yeah. So you got Happy Feet on the very end and then two over. No, at the bottom.
Happy Feet, Superman, Goodfellas.
That's what I said. I said Goodfellas.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the
No, my
pictures.
bad.
Maybe it's
Okay,
Blade
nice.
Runner, I think is what I
Mm,
determined from here.
gotcha.
But Beetlejuice. So yeah, all these Warner Brother pictures, which formerly we in the future we'll have to call them Paramount Pictures.
Ugh. Don't say that. WB forever, baby.
I do have here the Oceans trilogy steelbook
Ooh.
because of course Bruce Willis appears in Oceans 12, our least
Famously.
favorite ocean. But he does play himself.
Shout out Julia. They're besties. Shout out the new Oceans movie coming out. Yeah.
Directed by Bradley Cooper, Oceans 4. Or no, Bradley Cooper's going to do the prequel, and then Oceans 14 is directed by, I don't know,
I don't
unannounced
remember.
maybe. Pulp Fiction, though, on Blu-ray.
Is that Willis's best, do you think? I think it's up there.
He's pretty good playing the
Die
boxer.
Hard.
Great in
Die
Die
Hard's up
Hard.
there. Yeah.
Of course, we mentioned Red earlier. Great films.
Red 2 is better.
He's pretty good in this movie, 12 Monkeys. Him and
Okay.
Brad doing some time travel shit.
I
Kind
haven't
of
seen
going
that.
crazy. He's really going nuts in this movie. Also pretty good in Looper too.
Yeah, true. That's up there for his best as well. Sure.
But this has been your physical media corner.
Hell yeah. Love it.
And finally, I wanted to read to you Nick DeSimlin's Empire review, just a small excerpt. He gave 3 out of 5 stars and said, "You'll soon be sick of digital furballs, but there's plenty of fun here. And Hammy is up there with Ice Age's Scrat in the pantheon of lunatic movie rodents." I don't know about that last claim, but here we are 20 years later from the release of this film, almost 20 years exactly, just a month shy. And have we gotten tired of the digital furballs? I feel like we're only getting more every year.
Yeah, I don't think it'll die down anytime soon. So maybe eventually after like Ice Age 10, it would get a little bit in the weeds, but I think it's here to stay for sure.
I mean, it's the classic, like, movies about humans, especially animated ones, are no fun. So why not, make
Facts.
it about animals?
I back it.
The 3 movie mini draft, we are drafting DreamWorks animated films, and I think you have the first pick, Kody.
I'm interested to see how this goes. I think with my first pick, I'll take one of my favorites for sure. And then after that, we'll see where we go. But I think a good 1-1 here, maybe it's recency bias. I shouted out earlier. I'm gonna take the Wild Robot. I think it is up there with just the emotion and the character growth, and it really does just hit you in kind of in the emotions, I feel like, and it does an unbelievable job at that. Also, it's absolutely beautiful. And it also has
Love the animation style.
all these other themes of putting the robots in this natural kind of world like that, and how would they kind of adapt and survive similar to these animals. And the score is unbelievable as well. All the technicals are just outstanding. I think it is maybe the best visual movie DreamWorks has made, and yeah, I just love it. So I think that's my 1-1.
And another robot living out its life in the natural world. Probably my favorite DreamWorks movie overall, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
Just so good. I'll take Shrek 2 here, just to get Puss in Boots on the roster and to grab the Shrek franchise with I think the best one. It's really when the whole thing, I think, coalesces, and after that the bit maybe wears out a little bit, and they don't know where to go. But Fairy Godmother, For Faraway Idol, and all the fun that you can have after the
Simon
fact with that,
Cowell.
and Simon Cowell, yeah, why not?
Shout out. No, I don't
Giant
think
Gingerbread Man, which is a different
Yes.
character. It's not Gingy. I realized that, I think, for the very first time on my last watch, that this is an entirely different person, born
True.
of the Muffin Man.
Shout out the Muffin Man. Shout out making waffles as well. That's not in the second one, but still very good. I think with my second pick, I'm gonna go again, just like anti franchise for DreamWorks. I'm gonna go Megamind. Another personal pick of mine,
Well,
but
there is a sequel, Kody.
well, not officially, I don't believe. But the first one specifically is great. I think, having Will Ferrell and David Cross as like your main duo in any movie, I think is going to be great. But then also putting it in this, superhero, super villainy world. For me, personally, just loving kind of that genre. It was something that I saw at a young age and just instantly connected to. And then like all the side characters are fun too, like Jonah Hill as this crazy villain with an early role from him. Brad Pitt as kind of this Superman, in retirement-esque character. It's top to bottom. It's a great script, I think. And, it does touch on, more character depth for kind of a villain than we would ever really see in a superhero movie. And, what makes him a bad guy from the beginning. Everybody just freaking hates him because he's different. So he decides to go completely different and accept the hate. But then at the end of the movie, he kind of find loves with this reporter character with Tina Fey, and obviously just with his friendship with David Cross and others. So I think it does have that heart, but also too, I think it's just extremely funny, and a really funny superhero script. So I'll be very happy to slot that in.
Yeah, you can't deny the sequel that exists, though, Kody.
Did even call
Direct to
it
streaming, no matter what. Doesn't matter if it looks
something
like
robots or something? Who knows? But nobody came back for it. Nobody watched it. But yeah, we don't talk about that.
no Ferrell. Can't be
Definitely no
convincing.
Pharaoh. Yeah.
Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate.
Right. The Doom Syndicate. Scary stuff.
Peacock original. Get it on the cock. I'm going to take How to Train Your Dragon.
Nice.
The animated film, of course, not the
Of
live
course.
action, which is not eligible here. But I said it when we did our best of the year. That score, it's so great. And you go back to the original, it's all there. Toothless, a fun character as well. Another, kind of human bonding with an animal type thing. We can do the same as Project Hail Mary, Legend of Ochi, ET, all of it. It's been
Legend
done
of
a million
Ochi.
times.
Shout out, Will. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Just the score is iconic. I mean, that song, like I'm literally again playing it in my head as you bring it up. It is just it's so memorable. It's one of the best songs I think ever created. I guess I won't take How to Train Your Dragon 2, but that was on my short list. I think maybe I do prefer that one a little bit more, just because of like the emotion, with his dad and everything like that. But definitely a great pick. Um, I think for my last one, I am going to go completely off the rails. Obviously, a lot of honorable mentions we can talk about, but I'm going to take Rise of the Guardians as my last pick. I think a movie that I've talked great eye roll from you there, but I don't even know if you've ever seen this, so disrespect the eye roll, but underrated flick. The premise is kind of it's similar, I guess, to like the Tim Allen like Santa Claus movies. We're just taking like all of these, characters who are just known for their lore, kind of like Jack Frost, Sandman, it's the whole crew. But I think they do a cool thing of also having really high stakes of kind of the villain. I think it's one of the best villains in DreamWorks. I mean, he literally, I guess I won't spoil too much, but he takes down some of the main characters, pretty early on in the movie. And I just think the depth, after that for a lot of kind of the main ones, especially Jack Frost, is just extremely underrated in a movie that nobody talks about. So yeah, I'll bring it up as often as I can. But probably, I mean, it's probably like maybe I don't know 10 or 15 like on my actual DreamWorks list, but it kicks ass. So shout out to Rise of the Guardians. Santa's a badass in it.
Should I throw it on as a little Easter movie, a little Easter watch this
Yeah,
weekend?
the Easter Bunny's in it, which maybe his character isn't the best, but it kind of just takes like all of these iconic, holiday themed characters and gives them a completely different light, which I think is really cool.
And your boy Hugh Jackman's in it, so
Yeah, he's the bunny.
I know you love it. I'll go Monsters versus Aliens to kind of grab a little
Oh
bit more of
wow.
an
Okay.
OG off the wall pick. I feel like this one is, as a child, was my favorite. I really enjoyed that tall lady and all the crew, creature
Bob.
from the Black Lagoon, the ant guy.
The creature is great. Yeah. The missing link, is that what he's called? Something
Oh
like
yeah,
that. He's great. That movie's
it's a
kind of
fun
mid
movie. It's
though.
monsters versus aliens. What more do you want me to do? They fight
I mean,
aliens. There's the scene where they play the music for the aliens. It's good.
true.
Do the
I
close
forgot about
encounters
that.
thing. Yeah.
You love that scene. That's a Stephen Colbert, right? But that's definitely the best scene in the movie, to be fair. But yeah, other than that one scene, kind of mid, but
Dun,
I
dun,
respect it.
dun, 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 dun.
You
Good
picked the
stuff.
good music from DreamWorks, to be fair. How to Train Your Dragon and that banging soundtracks.
That's why they stuck in my head. And Over the Hedge didn't, because that soundtrack is ass. Sorry, Ben Folds. Anything to leave the people with, Cody?
I just wanted to shout out some other honorable mentions for DreamWorks too. Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were Rabbit, underrated, man, so good. Flushed Away, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Probably should have picked that, honestly. Yeah. Lastly, I mean, I think just like this was a fun pairing because it does pair together like two animated movies that do kind of have similar premises, but they are very, very different, I feel like. So fun to kind of compare those two. And yeah, go see Hoppers, go see Project Hail Mary. Movies are kind of red hot right now. I saw that I mean, I think we're talking about Mario next week and it's not getting good reviews. So that'll be fun. But go see movies. It's shaping up to be a really great year and it's super early. So I'm pumped for 2026.
In Romania, it is called Hoppery.
I think we found the best one.
Movies are back. That's for sure. and Mario's gonna kill him.
Damn you, Yoshi.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.